the Brexit betrayal, because the full horror of it, which, as we were alluding to earlier, has really enraged so many people. People feel so sold out by this. 17.4 million people voted to leave Europe. This guy has taken us back in. This is worse than what we used to have. At least when we were a member of that sclerotic old organisation, the European Union, the Brussels Club, at least we had a vote. At least we were one of the rule makers. Now we don't have a vote, we're just a rule taker. We have just paid, or Starmer, the world's worst negotiator, has agreed to hand over once again to Brussels billions of pounds every year for the privilege of them bossing us around with their millions of rules and regulations that they love so much. It is pathetic, but the full horror of it is only just emerging. Now, this guy went into these negotiations, as we discussed the other night, by giving a press conference the night before saying, yeah, I'm definitely going to sign this deal. Yeah, 100%. There's supposed to be negotiations the next day. Rod Little and I discussed this. A good allegory for it is this, that it's a bit like you or I going into a second-hand car dealer, you know, an array of cars, and some spiv comes up to you, second-hand car dealer, saying, "Now, can I interest you?" So you stop it before you try to sell me any one of these second-hand cars. Can I just tell you that I definitely will be buying one of them, whatever happens. 100% I'm going to buy one. That is effectively what he did with the EU. He went into those alleged negotiations on Monday morning, having already said he was going to sign the deal, and they did him up like a kipper, like the Sun said. They really, really did. But here's the deal. Oh, by the way, here's another funny detail. You think negotiations, you go round the table, one side, don't you? Apparently, they all sat on the same side of the table. They didn't even sit. Anyway, here's the deal. He didn't sign off on most of it. So he sort of agreed to it, but didn't sign off on it. So he said, one thing I've managed to achieve is no more expensive phone rate hell when you go to Europe on your holidays. There will be cheaper phone rates for Brits when they go to EU companies. Guess what the EU said today? No, there won't. We're not doing that, right? He agrees to free movement for the under-30s. And then, after the agreement, says, oh, yeah, we're looking for a cap of 100,000, no more than 100,000. EU, well, you should have mentioned that before. No deal. And the EU passport queues, the EQs, which, by the way, I think I said this to you the other night, I like not going in the EU queue. It sort of makes me proud, you know, independent Brits, you know, none of that Brussels gang, you know, I want to stand around with the Brussels losers. However, you know, he sold it, he goes much cheaper, much faster queues, you know, I mean, big deal anyway. But it turns out that the EU can't agree that because one of the few areas where the EU allows nations to govern themselves, to make their own decisions, is passport control. The EU has no power over EU countries in terms of their passport control. So Ursula von der Leyen was not empowered, not entitled to make that concession. So you've got all these pluses that he's going, this is brilliant. Yeah, look what I've achieved. He hasn't achieved any of them. They're not signed off, and it's getting worse.
He's just brought back a steaming, gigantic cow pat, hasn't he? That's what he served us with. It's absolutely dire. And I think over time, people are going to come to resent it even more. I mean, the whole thing about, you know, they put out this little advert saying, you know, getting you to the beach sooner. Just absolutely ridiculous, as if the British people are going to be bought off that easily.
Well, you say getting to the beach sooner. Was that a message to the illegal migrants? Yeah. The 820 that came across today, yeah.
Yeah, they got to the beach much sooner. Tomorrow, by the way, we get the next set of annual net migration figures.
Heard, yeah.
So let's see what those look like. They will be horrendous, I've no doubt. I mean, you know, the bar is pretty high already. But any cap that was set on the youth mobility scheme, the problem is we just couldn't trust that cap. It would be completely meaningless. It would just be as meaningful as smashing the vile people smuggling gangs. That youth mobility scheme will be a free-for-all without any doubt at all.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. And Reform have told Starmer that your EU deal, your Brexit reset, will cost you, Keir, the next election. And I think they're right. I think this has put the cap on it. I was saying last week, I was slow to accept the oft vaunted idea that Nigel Farage could be our next Prime Minister. But the local election vote and the by-election in Runcorn and Keir Starmer's subsequent performance, this catastrophe of the Brexit betrayal, I think Nigel Farage should start measuring up the curtains in number 10 Downing Street now.
Well, there are 4 wretched years to go before people get a chance to decide whether they think Nigel Farage is the best person to, first of all, unravel this absolute horror show of a Brexit betrayal. And I mean, whether it's first or second, stop the immigration crisis. To me, that comes the first, actually, of the list. The way things are going, I don't think that he's got much competition for the job, but anything can happen in 4 years. There's no way he will be thinking about measuring up the curtains. All of us on that side of politics are keenly aware how easily you can blow it. And we don't want the country to get that much worse in the next 4 years. Things are really awful already. Can you imagine where we're going to be after another 3 or 4 years of this moron?
Yeah, we don't want it to get any worse, but let's face it, it's going to get worse. And Reform, I mean, they're not celebrating. You don't dance on people's graves, as it were. But I think they do know that this Prime Minister is the biggest helper they've got. I mean, he's so hopeless, and he has no idea. He has no idea how unpopular his Brexit reset is. He has no idea and no appreciation of the fact that he has betrayed 17.4 million people who voted to leave the EU. Why he thinks they suddenly want to rejoin is beyond me, but it will cost him, and it will cost him dear.